What's up everybody, and welcome to the channel. In today's video we are going to be working on the Audi RS3. In the previous video you saw me do the wheel spacers to really help dial in the stance of the car. Today though, we need to lower it, get rid of that wheel gap, dial in the suspension and handling even better. So to do that, we're going to be installing the H&R lowering springs. I've done this on our previous S3, both my Supras, my old GTR. I've always been a really big fan of just a nice solid quality set of springs to enhance the performance and look of the car. So here is the kit. This is the Sport kit right now. You can see the front and rear springs. There's also new bump stops as well. You can see the nice H&R powder coating, of course, but these are going to lower the car about 1 inch all around. Should give it a really nice look. Now for those of you who own an Audi RS3 or the Audi S3, we carry these springs and spacers on our site. So go ahead and take a look at the link down in the description below if you would like to order some springs and spacers for your own Audi. So taking a look at the rear ride height, looks like we are about at 26 3/4. Looks like we are closer to maybe 26 3/8. So I'll write those down and then we will be able to have a good before and after. So then one last look at the before and after. As you can see, we have quite a lot of wheel gap here, about 3 fingers worth actually. So decent amount of wheel gap. And then in back, same sort of deal. We got about 3 fingers worth. So not the greatest wheel gap. Of course, we want it a little bit more tucked, a little bit lower to give this car a more aggressive design. So we got an 18mm for the sway bar end link. And then we can just pop the end link out of the way. And then for the suspension plug, just firmly press the little tab. And then take an M14 along with that 18mm now. And we can get that bolt out. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and support the rotor just a little bit. So this next part, when I had the Audi S3, was a major pain because I didn't quite have the exact perfect part. So here's what you're gonna need. This is basically a knuckle spindle spreader tool. This is $11. I'll have it linked on Amazon down below. As you might be able to tell, it's got an oval shape to it. All right, so to now work on it, I took that tool. I did spray the tip of it with a little bit of grease just to give it a little bit of wiggle room and less friction. Let's move this sway bar in like out of the way. So basically just slide this into the top right now. And then we're gonna slowly twist it, and that, as I get it more, is going to spread that spindle apart a little bit, right like that. And then just take your wrench off of it and leave it. And as you can see, we have a lot more wiggle room now to slowly work on getting this out. Now the little black stopper that's part of the strut is getting stuck on this, so that's why I bought 2 of these. So now we're gonna find another spot, maybe right in the center, and basically just add another one to help take some pressure off. Go ahead and pop this off, and this upper one now is loose. All right, and there we go. Not bad, that only took 4 minutes. When we had the S3, that took 6 hours. So be sure to buy that tool, it's $11. Get 2 of them. So next up, now that we have the strut out of the car, just to help make sure I put everything back in the correct orientation, I'm just gonna take a little bit of blue painter's tape and basically just mark a straight line on the strut itself, and then do the same thing up here so I know where this rubber top hat is gonna go. Next up, we're gonna take a set of spring compressors, and a lot of these little tools, I'll have a link down below. You can get them all on Amazon, super cheap. And now we're just gonna take a pass-through socket, put it on the bolt up here with an Allen wrench going through the center, lock that into place. All right, and then just go ahead and loosen this bolt all the way. And then from here, you can pull this top hat off, pull the boot out, and then we can get the springs out as well. So to now rebuild the strut, we got it sitting right here. This kit does come with new bump stops for the front. And then we have our new springs. They even have the rubber silencer pieces on the bottom just to help it with any sort of noise that you could get. And then when you install these, you want to make sure you can read the writing that is the correct orientation, and then just slide these until the bottom of the spring lines up with the original point right there. Next up on this, you can just pop out the original bump stop. The H&R one is just a little bit thicker and a little bit shorter. And then just wedge that back into place. Grab this boot, slide that on, and then on the boot, you're gonna notice this rubber piece, there's a notch cut into it. That will correspond with the notch that's in this. So that's gonna help you line this up. And of course, since I know the orientation of everything, if I get that in the right spot, I know that this is gonna end up sitting about like that where my tape is lined up. And then since these are smaller springs, you can kind of use your body weight, push it down a little bit and get that bolt onto the top. So with the strut all assembled, super simple to do, honestly. That really wasn't too bad. I'm really happy with putting the tape on. That made it to where everything is squared away. This will freely spin up here though, of course. However, you want to still get this bottom part, because it is angled, in line with the spring correctly. So that came out really good. Everything is sitting perfect. One thing, I kept that tool inside the spindle to keep it spread apart. That way when I reinstall this now, it's gonna slide right in. I don't have to worry about redoing that or anything. So from here, as you'd expect, just slide it up. And you might have to manipulate the strut a little bit. We can slowly get it all right back in. One thing I found, it's also a little bit easier, leave that tool still in there, spreading that knuckle apart. Makes it easier to move things around and line up these 3 bolts for the top of the strut. Now with that, everything is tightened up. It's time to button up the front and get the rear in the air. Moving on to the rear end now, super simple. You just saw the time lapse I was figuring out as I went, but really pretty easy. There's like 4 bolts you gotta deal with. So taking a look at everything, you don't even need to mess with the plugs for the magnetic suspension. So underneath here, you're gonna have these 2 bolts you're gonna have to remove. We're just gonna loosen that one right there. And then the sway bar itself, you're gonna wanna take that bolt out. I found it easier to disconnect the end link from the sway bar rather than pulling that bolt out. And then we just have 2 10mm underneath this, along with some plastic push pins on the inside of that plastic. I'll show you in a second. Sometimes you need a little extra leverage. And then let's move on to the 10mm. And then under here you can see one of the plastic tabs right there, which gotta pop off, and then there's another one around this corner. And then now on the front side, just loosen this bolt right here for the end link. And then for the sway bar end link, it should be loose enough. We can get that out. And then now just lower the jack. And the spring is super easy. You just twist it counterclockwise and get this right out. And with the new spring now, once again, you want to read the letter. So this is the top. Go ahead and pop off this rubber top, and you want that groove to line up with the new spring. So just kind of lock it in place. You might have to twist it a little bit. It'll pop in. And then now, inside here, you're gonna wanna twist it and lock it into those grooves. There's gonna be a stopper. That way, it will know where to stop. So just kind of feel it with your finger, but basically just slide it in. You have plenty of wiggle room here. And then you're just going to get it in the groove and then twist it and firmly hold it down until it locks into place. And then from here, it's incredibly easy. Just line everything back up, put the spring top in this groove, get all of these where they belong. And then lining that up, just kind of wiggle it. And just like that, they are all installed. Rear suspension in for the RS3, super quick to do. With that said, let's pop on each of these wheels and get the car on flat ground. And 4 hours later, we're all wrapped up with the lowering springs for the RS3. Surprisingly, that actually took really no time at all with filming. Filming takes a lot longer than just doing it outright. But car's looking really good. Let's take a look at our measurements. The stock rear was 26 3/4 of an inch. Up front, we were at 26 3/8 of an inch. So let's take a look now, putting this up. Looks like we are perfectly 1 inch dropped, around 25 3/4. And then looking at the front, looks like once again an inch drop, 25 3/8. So that is sweet to see. We got a 1 inch drop for the Audi RS3. And if you're curious, I have 10mm spacers up front with the 15s in back. All H&R brand. All this is on our website. So taking a look at that wheel gap now, look at that, that fills out perfectly. And now we have about 1.5 fingers in there versus 3. So that is a nice drop up front. And then moving to the back again, perfect wheel gap, tucked very nicely. And same sort of deal, about 1.5 fingers in there. So man, RS3 looks a heck of a lot better. Let's take a look at this side now. Man, thing looks so good. With the spacers too, this car just looks so much better, so much more aggressive than it did in the stock configuration. There's so much grille at the front of this car, but now with those wheels sitting the way they do with the drop and everything, I mean, how much more aggressive is that? That is 10 times better looking wheel spacers along with the lowering springs. Wow, that car looks so drastically different. Oh, that is so awesome. So with all that said, it is a rainy day out, so I'm not gonna get the car out since I just watched it, but I will make a full review video on the springs and spacers, talking about the handling, getting it out and about, and just kind of getting my thoughts, how it drives and everything. Getting out of the driveway, I would assume I'm pretty good. It only dropped it 1 inch all around, and the car honestly in the stock configuration has a lot of ground clearance. We've never had any rubbing issues. So I'll make a full review of how all these products work, and hopefully it improves the handling too. The RS3 handles good, but I'm not a big fan of the steering. So I think it's really gonna be dialed up. And as far as the stance, it looks so much better, especially in person. Like this car, way better looking now with this new setup. But that is gonna wrap it up now, installing lowering springs on the brand new Audi RS3. For those of you with an RS3, take a look at the link down below. We carry the H&R products for these cars. I've always been very, very happy with them. On the Supras too, the GTRs. I mean, great products. And we got this thing looking exactly how we want. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for plenty more content, and check out the links down below. Get your RS3 set up super nicely. I'll see you guys in the next video.